we'll jump into the webinar. So again, thank you for joining. We are talking, how are we going to build better sales conversations for your growing MSP? And you can expect to hear from the two faces you see on the screen. My name is Jen. I am on the product marketing team here at GoTo, focused on LogMeIn Resolve. And I am very lucky to be joined by Jeff Lohr, partner and CEO of Start Grow Manage. If you've not heard Jeff speak before, I think you're in for a treat. Very engaging and very practical takeaways. So super excited to have you here, Jeff, and
thank you.
Share with people. So what you can expect from today, I'll kick it off with a quick overview of just LogMeIn Resolve, what we do for MSPs, and then let you know, if you're interested, how to go ahead and get a trial of Resolve. And then I will throw it over to Jeff so that we can really dive into the sales conversation. So to kick us off, just a little bit about LogMeIn Resolve. If you've not heard of LogMeIn Resolve or unsure what we do, we are really here as a unified endpoint management platform for MSPs so that you can conquer chaos and take control of your IT support. And this is a super busy slide, but it's busy because we do so many things. So want to just run you through kind of what our UEM means, what we bring to the table, and how it benefits MSPs. So the first bit is we have really strong hands-on support. And again, this is all in one platform. So you can do your remote access, your remote support. And what's amazing about it, and my favorite part, is that it's not only easy for you as the technician to use, it's really easy for your end users to get connected as well, because we certainly want to eliminate that friction, make it a good experience for them. So always really excited to talk about our remote support. But you'll also notice in that area, maybe, I know the slide is busy, we do have visual support and camera share. So this is something that I hear a lot of MSPs talk about, maybe going on site to find out something was just unplugged or the cable was not plugged in properly. And those kinds of things, you waste a lot of time going on site. So with camera share, you can actually troubleshoot with purpose-built camera share where you can pause, annotate, and really help people get their issues resolved. The big piece of what we do is endpoint management. So your typical device monitoring, patch management, IT alerting, IT automation. We have all that baked in, plus MDM. So we're excited to talk about MDM. We see it as a really great opportunity for MSPs who haven't yet traversed into the MDM service offering. So we bring that all together so that you can secure those workers who are on the go. I know a lot of companies are still hybrid. People are accessing work files on their phones, and an MDM solution really gives you the power to help keep them secure. And we do have MDM standalone too. So if you're only in the market for that piece, we do have that piece alone. And one thing that I didn't talk about is our AI and automation. Be on the lookout for a webinar invite for next month where we're really diving into what Resolve does with practical AI. We're very focused on it being practical. So it's not just a buzzword. We're really going in, identifying issues that IT solution providers have, where there are bottlenecks, and understanding how we can implement AI to ease that burden, make your lives easier and more secure. So again, be on the lookout. I would love to have you join. I'll be running that webinar, so hope to see you there. And then we also have a data protection suite powered by Acronis to help you stay secure, your customers resilient. And the last piece is our IT record keeping, which is also very cool. We do have a built-in help desk so that you can manage all of your customer issues. We have our asset management module as well, so keeping tabs on license counts and making sure things are getting used properly is a big deal. And then we have integrations for days, as you see at the bottom. So many great things with LogMeIn Resolve that I'm always very excited to talk about. Hopefully, you're excited to learn about. And if you are, we do have a free trial that you can access at this QR code. It's free for 14 days. You get to check out all the cool features I just talked about and really start to kick the tires and see if it's for you. So would love if you are interested, if you take that trial out and just see what it's all about. But I think with that, that kind of wraps up my spiel. So I would love to turn it over to you, Jeff, so that you can introduce yourself and give us all your knowledge.
All right. Sounds great. Well, thank you very much, Jen. I love what you guys are doing over at LogMeIn. I love the focus on actually helping MSPs to get the things done, and our clients have given us great feedback about your software as well. So really nice package there. So good. So what we're going to talk about today is sales, and I want to start with Joe. So Joe is my partner at Start Grow Manage, and he started his first MSP, and it cost him everything. It cost him his savings, his time, his freedom. Eventually, it cost him his marriage. And he was working 100 hours a week, hustling every networking event in the city, handing out cards, landing a client, doing all the work, losing a client, starting over. And if you've ever found yourself eating cold, reconstituted eggs at 7 o'clock in the morning, handing out cards to people who are handing out cards to you while everyone pretends that this is a great use of a Tuesday morning, while help desk is ringing on your phone in your pocket, you know exactly what I am talking about. So today we're going to talk about how Joe fixed his sales, which was key to scaling his 3 MSPs and required no reconstituted eggs, or anyway, fewer reconstituted eggs, because I don't know, they're sort of a scourge and it's hard to get rid of. Who I am, so my name is Jeff Lair. I'm a strategist, growth expert, angel investor, general business guy, and I'm one of the founders of Start Grow Manage, a company that's focused on helping MSPs scale so that the owners can live better lives. So we want you to have more time, more money, more freedom. And I'm the business guy. Joe is the one who started and grew and sold 3 MSPs. And what we've done is turn what he did into best practices, templates, and trainings, and have helped hundreds of MSPs overcome scaling challenges without suffering quite the way that Joe did. So you can save your marriage and your house. We think of it as an MBA for MSPs, but it's more fun and not as expensive. So getting back to Joe, the thing about Joe was that he wasn't an MSP savant. When he started that first MSP, he was stuck working 60, 80, 100 hours a week, and he was hustling, handing out his cards, following up, landing a client, and then inevitably losing the client because he was spending so much time trying to get new clients. But he thought that he had one crucial advantage. He was, is, and will always be a people person who loves networking and loves sales. I don't know if many of you out there love sales, but that's his favorite thing. The only problem, he wasn't closing any sales. And when we talk to MSP owners about their sales process, some are like Joe, right? Some love the sales, but most tell us some version of, I'm an engineer, I fix things, I'm not a salesperson. And they, or I should say we, because I'm more on the fix things side, look at someone like Joe and think, oh, that's how we need to be. We read books on how to sell, and we build relationships, and books that talk about having a presence and doing things, anything other than fixing things. And sure, there's some amount of connecting with people that's going to have to happen in sales. But if you just connect like Joe was, you're also not making sales. And what we've discovered is that sales isn't a random walk of relating to people, being present, connecting, asking 20 questions to get at core sales pain, and handing out sales cards or handing out cards at 7 o'clock in the morning. That can all be part of it, but none of it works if you don't think about sales like an engineer. You can't just let it happen. So we actually find that the technical engineering types have the advantage. And even those in the MSP space who are relationship people tend to also be technical engineers. So this is for you. And I will explain why that's the case. But first I want to talk about Chum. I don't know if anybody knows what Chum is. I don't think I have a chat here, but if you know what Chum is, I don't know, keep it to yourself, I guess. Chum is the fish parts, scraps and bits that you actually throw into the water to attract larger animals like sharks. And when you throw the chum in the water, you get something like this. Sharks going after these little bits of chum and fighting each other and getting blood in the ocean, right? They actually turn the ocean red over a scrap of fish in an ocean full of fish. which is exactly the challenge that MSPs face. Except that MSPs are typically not interested in the little bits of fish floating in the ocean. So MSP chum is a little bit different. It looks kind of like this. It's somebody who wants IT services, someone who understands the MSP market. How many times have I heard this, right? Like, my client is somebody who understands MSPs, somebody who knows their IT budget, somebody who's frustrated with their last MSP and that they are ready to buy. And it turns out that this is that MSP chum, and it has a name. We call it the 3%. Because it's only 3% of the market that's buying now, actively looking, and are evaluating different solutions. They get back to you. They understand what you are offering. They want to move quickly. And this is where everybody likes to be, right? Out chasing the chum, desperate to convince them to buy. And it's where you end up in price competition, where they look at your proposal and they say, well, you have 13 bullet points and they have 15. So what if we cut out 2 bullet points and you reduce your price in half? That's what happens when we chase the chum. If only there were a big blue ocean out there. It wouldn't be much of a presentation if I didn't have a big blue ocean. So if we look beyond the 3%, you immediately find that there's 7% of the market who are open to buying, but they're not actively looking. And that's already twice those who are actively looking. So maybe not an ocean, but at least it's a lake, maybe a large lake. But we can go further, because then there's 30% of the market. It's not actively thinking about it yet, right? But they kind of know they have a need and they have some interest. It's just not quite top of mind. They're sort of thinking about it in some way. And then there's 30% of the market. It's those who think that they're not interested, but they actually are interested. They just don't understand what we're talking about. And then there's 30% of the market, just forget about it. They're not going to buy. But what that leaves us with is the 67% in the middle. And that's our blue ocean, right? They want and they need support, but they aren't out chasing MSPs. They need somebody to understand them. This is where MSPs charge premium prices, and they find clients they like to work with, and they make real money. So I'm going to show you how to escape that chummy red ocean and give you a tool to help so that you can do it yourself. But we do have to start with what keeps us in that red ocean in the first place. And it's the fact that sales is dating. And I don't mean it's not like dating. It is dating. It's the same process, right? It just has a different outcome, and there's a bit of a twist to it. And to understand what has to happen in this relationship, then think back on a good dating experience you've had, right? Where you met somebody and you started to develop a relationship. Think about the first thing that has to happen in that relationship. So at the very beginning, you don't know each other. So you have to build trust. You have to build confidence. You have to show them somehow that you are the one. You don't just walk up to somebody and say, hey, do you want to get married? Or maybe you do, but it's not very effective, right? You build trust. You say hello. You exchange numbers. You meet again. You learn about each other. Trust builds slowly, deliberately, over time. Now, here's the twist. In dating, you have to figure this out yourself. There's no structured way to do it. But in business, we create a model. And the model looks something like this. Okay? It starts with awareness. And people become aware that you exist. They have to know that you exist to consider buying. And then they have to trust you. Because if there's no trust, they can never buy from you. And then they have to see that you empathize with them. So they have to feel the empathy. And then that turns into confidence, where they feel the confidence from you and know that you can deliver the thing that they want. And that leads to distinction, where they buy the thing from you. It turns them into the customers because you stand out, and this is when they start to make referrals and they want to work with you, right? And this is the process that they have to go through. If they don't know you, they have to go through this. And if you think about any purchases that you've made, you have to do the same thing. Where if you're hiring somebody who's going to really transform your business or transform your life, you have to have that trust first. Yet somehow our expectation is that we go from awareness all the way to distinction. And we have the tendency to think that we are bad salespeople if that isn't happening. But here's the thing to remember, is that you are not an impulse buy at checkout. So it might work to go from awareness to distinction if you're a candy bar. But MSP services are deep and personal, and they're part of the core of the business. Like, you're really getting in there and rooting around in the computers, and they have to have that infrastructure. This isn't a light purchase. So selling MSP services is more like marriage than picking up a candy bar. And you want it that way, to be clear. Because those who see you as easily interchangeable with anybody else are going to be the worst clients. So you have to build that confidence and that distinction so that you can get that sale. And you remember that I said that engineers and technical people actually have the advantage here, because the reason that sales don't close is that there isn't a process. You have a process for everything else. So why would it be any different for sales? This is why engineers and technical people are so well suited to it, actually. And it's why the relationship people who only focus on relationships and think they're great at sales struggle to actually close. It's the lack of process. And so I want you to leave here today with the process that you can build into your CRM, that you can put into your business so that you can start closing sales or close more sales. So here it is. It's our 7-part process that we call prescriptive selling. And it starts with conducting research. I can't tell you how many times we've audited a sales process or gone through a sales process with somebody, and we've discovered that our clients are talking to people, or they're showing up and they're going to these meetings completely cold. They know nothing about their prospect. They know nothing about the business. They just go and they have to find out everything there. And that's not a great way to build trust, right? You have to go in understanding who they are, the problem you solve, how you solve the problem for them, what matters to them. So if you don't know what you do, then they can't possibly start to trust you. Now, this is a million times more efficient if you are focused on an ideal client profile, which is why everybody is always going to tell you you can focus on it. You should focus on an ideal client profile. It means that you can do less research. You have to do less to prepare. The more you focus, the more you'll be swimming in that blue ocean. But as long as you do some research, you are approaching the blue ocean. So the next step in the process is to have the trust meeting. You're going to go in and lead a trust meeting. Now, we used to call this the discovery meeting, but here's the problem with like the discovery meeting is that that's all about us. That's all about us finding stuff out. But we need to think of this as an opportunity to build trust. And sure, we're going to discover things. We're going to learn things, and we want to learn things. But you want to go into this meeting talking about the problem. You're going to and then you're going to let them talk about the problem. And you're going to exchange war stories. And you might even talk about the solution you provide, but you talk about it without having you in it. Oh, so, you need this rather than I do this. So they can say, yeah, I really need that. That's great. And now they think, wow, this person really gets me. They really understand me. And you end not with a sale, but with the agreement to put together a proposal. And crucial here is that you book a meeting from a meeting. So you book your next meeting to go over the proposal straight from this meeting. Always book a meeting from a meeting. And then that brings us to the third part, which is to prepare your professional proposal. So one area where this consistently falls down is that people don't prepare their proposals in a timely way. It might take 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks. And they wake up in the middle of the night and put it together and send it via email like 3 o'clock in the morning. And they wonder why they don't have a response by 9 the next day. But if you bam-fammed booking a meeting from the last meeting, and then you show up to present the proposal instead of leaving it to the vagaries of email or your memory, right? They can actually see the value. They can see that you empathize, and you build that confidence that you can deliver. So this is where you go in and you present that proposal. And that's where you also have the opportunity to handle objections, answering the questions, explaining to them how you can add the value. And that leads to closing the deal. And this close can be a win, it can be a lose, it can be a defer. But the point is you want to know what the next step is. Now, anybody who can count, you might see this is only 6, not 7. And there is a 7th part, and it's really here that you're tapping into the blue ocean. It's really here that you catch those who deferred, who aren't interested, who are kind of paying attention, but aren't asking for a proposal yet. And it's in the follow-up and communication. See, because what happens is we'll let 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks go by without communicating. Or we'll get to close, or we'll get to close the deal and they'll defer. And then we don't talk to them for 6 months and we knock on their door and we say, hey, are you ready? And they say, oh, I just hired somebody else. If you're not communicating, if you're not following up or engaging, and not just through the sales process, but through marketing, through everything, then you're just fighting for chump. It's that follow-up that allows us to connect with people. And it's the follow-up that allows us to have the confidence to realize that the prospect only wants the best price for the most work. And you don't have to work with them because you know that you have a full pipeline. And it's this whole process that has us build that awareness and trust and empathy and confidence and get to that level of distinction. You don't have to leave it to chance. You don't have to be great at dating, which is good because I suck at dating. I wasn't even very good at sales until I mastered the process, right? But this is how I've sold large projects and small projects. And this is how Joe fixed his sales and grew his MSP, transforming himself from that chaos to confidently running a business. And apparently looking 10 years later, younger and a little bit like me, but that is not a part of the process. That's all ChatGPT. But regardless of what he looks like, it was through putting the process together. It's putting the process together, right? Through structuring it, that he was able to scale and sell. And he's not the only one. So here are a couple of examples. On the left here, I have Helen from Channel Hunters. And this is interesting because Helen is brilliant at getting leads for MSPs. But she noticed that only one group of her clients consistently converted the leads into sales. It was those who had this process. So now we train all of their clients. And last year she had one client who she found 118 leads for. He didn't close any of them. And now, 2026, he's got the process and he made a sale. So for those good at math, that is an infinite increase. And there are not many things out there that offer the possibility of an infinite increase. And then we move on to Carl, right? And Carl was convinced that his clients were ghosting him. He'd have these initial conversations, he wouldn't hear from them, they wouldn't follow up. But when he put the process in place and tweaked what he was doing, he was following up rather than waiting for them. He knew when and what to communicate. And recently he had the same situation where the prospect was ghosting him, or so he thought, but he was following the process. And he had bam-fammed, he'd communicated, he'd prepared the proposal, and he ended up closing a 10 million, that'd be nice, 10,000 MRR project. So he went from ghosted to cash. And then there's Anonymous, because Anonymous is spending tens of thousands of dollars a year on marketing and not getting anything for it. But by putting in the process of structuring, tailoring, delivering, creating that sales process, he's now seen a 4 times growth in his business. So, he's still wasting his money on marketing, frankly. I wish I could get him to stop. But anyway, but at least now he can afford it, right? At least now he has the money coming in, so it's not as painful. It doesn't feel like he's losing so much. So that's the thing. If you run an MSP or something similar, MSSP or BSP or whatever acronym you prefer, and you're an engineer who thinks that you can't sell, you can. You just need a process. If you're a relationship builder who isn't closing, you just need a process. And if you're done fighting for the scraps, you want to have better sales conversations, you want to engage your prospects, and you're tired of going after the 3%, well, there's a whole ocean out there for you. You just need a process, which is why we built this. So we actually have a workbook that you can download that walks you through building your own predictable sales engine. So it's practical. It's built for you. It's got the list of all the stuff there. It's got a couple of checklists and questions. But I put this together so that you can start today. You can take this, remember, start working on it. So download it. You can get it right here at prescriptive download, or you can trust the QR code. We are not putting any malware there, and get it. But fair warning, once you do, we will communicate with you until you tell us to stop. That's because we have a process. You've seen it, right? We follow it. So this is a part of our process, and it really should be a part of yours as well. So thank you very much. Now we can move on to question and answer.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Jeff. That was great. We do have a few questions that have come through.
Sure.
I will kick it off with one that I really like. Very practical. How do I actually stay in contact without being annoying?
Well, so here's the annoying part of being in contact. The annoying part of being in contact is, will you marry me? Will you marry me? Will you marry me? Will you buy? Will you buy? Will you buy? Will you buy? So the best way to stay in contact is to provide useful information. So we put together these nurture campaigns that are, some emails or some communications that are helpful, useful things, business things, right? Not about, hey, your cybersecurity needs me. It's really about, here's some thoughts around how you can use technology to improve your business, or here are some of the issues that you have, business issues that are solved. And people start to appreciate that. It isn't annoying because you aren't being annoying. And then you can follow up every few emails or every few weeks with a, hey, do you want to have a conversation? Or you can invite them to something. But it isn't annoying if you aren't pestering them. And you know if your email communication is annoying. You, in your heart of hearts, you know when you're being annoying, right? So just don't be annoying, and it's not annoying.
Fair enough. We have another question here. I know we're coming up on time, so if we don't get to you, we'll follow up. But how long does this actually take? When will I see results?
So here's the thing, is that you can see results immediately. So we have clients who put this in place, and they get results right away with their first clients. But it's less about like the immediacy of the results and more about the fact that you're actually creating a program that's going to go along over time. So you get some sales now, but you're also nurturing people along so that you get some sales in a couple of months, and 6 months, a year from now. So it becomes that continuous process. It becomes a predictable process. So you can get results quickly, but it's really not about quick results. It's really about having that pipeline so you get predictable results. You know when your sales are going to come. You know how to scale your MSP. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think that's great. I know we're almost out of time, so we will follow up if we didn't get to your question. But just really quick, if anyone is interested in learning more about LogMeIn Resolve, we're going to have a quick poll pop
Sorry, I'm
up.
going to change the slide here. Yep.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Excuse me, I don't know, PowerPoint. If you could just take a moment to let us know, and then we will let you go. But appreciate everybody joining us. Jeff, thank you so much for all of the wonderful information. I hope I speak for
Well, thanks
everyone
for the
when I say
opportunity. I think
great
it's great
content.
fun. Cool.
Yeah, no, it really is. And the blueprint that you give, laying out the process is amazing. So again, thank you. And thank you to everyone who joined us. We hope to see you in our next webinar, and we hope that you have a wonderful day.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.